Welcome. It's nice to have you here. And so today I have a special treat for you. We're going to start um, a series of workshops today, which are all about money. It's about joyfully manifesting money. It's the spiritual principles of inner and outer wealth and abundance. And so this is obviously very, very appropriate for you if you have any interests, struggles, or concerns with money or abundance. But I also want to be clear that this is a secret, it's applicable for everybody, because true wealth and abundance is about you. It's about who you really are. That's the true wealth and abundance. And that's the source of all expression of all goodness in your life. So if you think, oh, I don't struggle with money, I don't have many money issues, stick around anyway. It will be good for you. But certainly, it's going to be very, very eye-opening and life-changing for people who struggle with any kind of money-related things. Which is part of why I'm wanting to do it is because I've been noticing in meeting with people that it's a theme that comes up a lot, is that people struggle a lot with money. Uh, and it has a lot to do with really looking at things in the wrong way. No big surprise, because that's really that's why we struggle with everything, is because we look at it the wrong way. Because perspective is everything. Your perspective is your experience, and so if you look at it the wrong way, then you'll have the wrong experience, being wrong for you. And so changing the way you look at things will change your perspective, therefore change your experience. So, like I say, no big surprise that people are looking at money the wrong way and thereby having the wrong experience with money. So, like I say, this is going to be a multi-part series. And the reason for that is not necessarily because there's so much information that have to take many sessions in order to cover it, but it's more because if I just did it in one meeting, then I know how most people are. Most people will say, okay, done, did that, move on to the next thing, and then won't really get the benefits, or at least not the full benefits. But here, as with all things, you can get the benefits when you actually apply yourself to it. And that takes some doing. You have to actually do it over some time. And so part of the motivation of doing it over multiple sessions is that it will be something that you will be hopefully more encouraged to apply and then get the results, because you'll be coming back and then you'll get a little bit more and you can apply that, and then you can come back and get a little bit more and apply that. And that way you should, well, not only should you, but you will for sure get the results. That's how it works. If you uh, listen and you actually apply what it is that you learn, then I guarantee you'll get the results. It's no question whatsoever. So, want to just make sure, I mean, for everybody who's here live, you already know that you're in the right place. But for people who find this on YouTube, it will be good for me just to make sure that give people a little bit of information so they can determine for themselves whether or not they're in the right place, because I don't want to waste anybody's time. So this is not about how to make money with Amazon, or how to make money with Shopify, or how to make money, but it's none of that kind of thing. It's not, or through real estate or whatever. This is about you. It's about knowing yourself. It's about fundamentally, it's about self-realization and all the benefits that come from that. And so I just want to be clear about that. So that's the real overarching purpose and intention of these meetings. And what that means, self-realization is maybe sort of this slightly intimidating term, but I want to just break that down so it's clear what it is that I'm actually talking about. So self-realization means to know yourself, to know your powers, and to know your relationship with reality. And in doing that, this removes fear. Because fear is the big enemy. Fear is the thing that we're struggling with the most. And most people are trying to go about alleviating that fear by obtaining certain material things. But then, of course, the problem is that all those material things, as relatively important as they are nonetheless, for sure, guaranteed, they are transient. That's their nature. All things, all material things are transient. That's just the nature of all things in this world, is that they come and they go. The particles come together and then they move apart. That's the nature of all things. It's all movement in this world. And so nothing lasts forever. And so if you're seeking for uh, security in material things, then boy, that's not going to work out very well, because what it does is we all know that actually we all know nothing lasts forever, and so but if we're seeking out our security in the material things, then we temporarily attain something, but then when it starts to fall away or show signs of its transience, then it will push all the buttons in us that will provoke that fundamental insecurity, because the insecurity is actually within us. It's not something external to us, so it's obviously not something that we can solve by obtaining external things. It's not going to be solved that way. It has to be resolved by looking where it actually is, which is within. And so that's why I say that fundamentally, it's about self-knowledge, self-realization. That's the real remedy for that insecurity. It's what gives true security, because you'll never not be you, not who you truly are. I'm not talking about your transient self, the personality, the likes, dislikes, and preferences, and all that. Of course, that changes. But the truth of who you are, fundamentally, that is inalienable. That is something that is always true. And so knowing that, knowing who you really are, knowing your powers, and knowing your relationship with reality will remove the fear. It will remove the insecurity. It will finally remedy it. And that is the real basis, by the way, of true wealth and abundance. So that's the kind of the secret there, is that you have to have that as the basis. Now, I want to be clear that what I'm talking about today and in the other meetings in this series is not exclusively about the inner wealth and abundance. It's about both inner and outer. So I just want to be clear that I'm not saying that you can only have inner abundance and inner security, but not also have the outer. You can absolutely have both, but this is about both, not just the outer. And that's an important distinction, because as I've already pointed out, but I'll just repeat just for the sake of clarity, only having the outer material so-called security is insufficient, because it will not actually remedy the real insecurity which is within you. It's not outside of you. The real insecurity is within you. As long as this is a really important point, as long as you are still alive, which you are, right? Then you don't actually have a problem of lack. Your mind will tell you that you do. Your mind will come up with all kinds of arguments about why you're lacking in all kinds of ways. But the truth is, as long as you're alive, you have everything that you fundamentally need. That's by definition true. But the mind likes to do all kinds of funny things. And it's very good at deception. So it will deceive you into believing that you are lacking something fundamentally, but it's not actually true. So we always already have the abundance, but because we are accustomed, trained to looking in the wrong way, then we get ourselves all twisted up, and then we start having not only a lack of clarity within ourselves, but we also then start to project that lack of inner clarity onto the outside. So we start to manifest external circumstances which correspond to our inner sense of lack. So that's how that works. Anyway, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So let me just take a step back and frame the whole thing, which I've already kind of been doing, but I'll do it a little bit more formally now. So here's what you can expect to get from this series. So I'm intending to give you practical, uh, direct experience of the true source and substance of real abundance. Okay, so that's very important, and that's going to be the foundation of everything. So this is not just going to be about talking. This is actually about real direct experience. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's how you can actually get results. So that will be one very important outcome from this series of meetings is that you will have not just one, but repeated direct experiences of the true source of abundance, which is yourself as you truly are. And so we'll be having a guided practice momentarily that will allow you to have that direct experience and clarity within yourself. And that's as I say, the foundation. And then I'll be walking you step by step through some other practical things that you can do so that you can gain direct clarity about the truth of abundance and money and the relationship between money and abundance and who you are and how you relate to abundance and money and what your powers are and how you can begin to work with those powers intelligently so that you can express authentically that true abundance and experience that not only inwardly but also outwardly so that you can solve your problems in your life and also more importantly so that you can actually live on purpose so that you can live your purpose so that you can live true fulfillment, which is, by the way, that is the expression of abundance. So we'll kind of leap off from there. Let's start with the guided practice. So this guided practice, as I say, is really important because otherwise, for a lot of people at least, it ends up being a lot of talk, but the talk is not the main value here. It's about what you actually experience that matters. I'm sure that you've had that experience in your life where you've heard the words, but you didn't really understand it. And then eventually it clicked, and then you did understand. So here I'm wanting to just eliminate that unnecessary delay and just get right to the part where it clicks. I want you to actually connect with the real source of abundance, which is your true self. And that's best done directly and experientially. So we'll just take a few moments and I'll guide you through that. And for this, it's important that you are comfortable. Your comfort is very, very important in this. Uh, so you should take some reasonable steps to be comfortable. Also, if you can be, let me just say this. So I know sometimes people listen or participate in these meetings while they are doing other things, while they're driving and things like that. It doesn't work best that way. It works best if you can have full focus, attention. And so if you happen to be driving right now, for example, then you're not going to most likely be able to get the most from this guided practice. In which case I really recommend that you do it again later. So for those who are here live, if you're presently driving, then that's fine. You're going to do whatever you're going to do. But at the very least, then I recommend that you watch this once it's posted on YouTube so that you can participate and get the most from it. Let me just also say this, because I know sometimes on YouTube, people will comment and say, there's so many ads. Uh, I'm, as far as I'm aware, I've not been given control over the ads on YouTube, but I can say that there are ad blocker plugins for YouTube that do work. So you might want to find one of those because you'll have a much better experience if it's not interrupted by advertisements. So you might want to check that out. Yet another one of the benefits of participating live, by the way, is you don't even have to concern yourself with that. So, okay, with all that said, if you can reasonably arrange to be uninterrupted, meaning like turn off the ringer and close a door, that kind of thing, then that would be optimal. If not, don't worry about it. Obviously, if you're driving, that's not going to work for you. But um, if you can make those arrangements reasonably, that will be optimal because here you just want to be able to put your nervous system at in a calm state if at all possible, so that it's not hypervigilant looking for things. You want to be able to just signal your nervous system that it's okay to let go and relax for a few minutes. And then your posture should be supportive of you being present and relaxed. So, like I said a few moments ago, you being comfortable is important in this process. Now, you don't have to be absolutely on cloud nine kind of comfort, but you want to at least minimize or reduce any discomfort. So, if you can be upright and comfortable, then that's optimal because for a variety of reasons, including that you're less likely to fall asleep if you're upright. But for some people, being upright is provocative of discomfort. And so if that's the case for you, then find a different posture that will be supportive of you being as comfortable as possible. Preferably don't lie down in your bed just because it will signal your subconscious to fall asleep, and then it will uh, reduce the benefits most likely. So if you do need to lie down, ideally lie down somewhere other than in your bed, where you're less likely to fall asleep. So a firm surface is usually better for that reason because you'll be less likely to fall asleep. But again, you should be comfortable. So if the only place that you can be comfortable is lying down in your bed, then so be it. Hopefully that's all clear, and hopefully you can accommodate those suggestions. And so if it's comfortable for you, it's not absolutely required, but if it is comfortable and safe, obviously, for you to close the eyes, then please do close the eyes because again, it will just help to reduce the stimulation because the visual stimulation is often quite intensive. And so just closing the eyes can reduce that, and it will naturally allow for the focus to be more inward. So the practice here is really just to be present to yourself, which surprisingly is something that many of us are not that accustomed to. So that's part of the value of having it guided. So there's really nothing to do other than just to be aware of yourself. And depending on your familiarity with this kind of thing, that may be quite easy and comfortable, or it may be challenging. And that's okay, whatever it is. So just know that you can absolutely succeed no matter what. You just have to be willing to start where you are. As long as you're willing to start where you are and you're willing just to participate sincerely, I can guarantee you will be successful because it's just about being present to your own experience. So I recommend that you just notice your breath. So here, it's not about breathing in a particular way. It's not about breathing in whatever ways you've learned are the right ways. It's about just being aware of your breath. Because the breath is this really amazing thing in that it is something that is automatic. It's gifted to us by nature, and yet we have the ability to quite easily take conscious control of it, or even unconscious control of it. And in this process, in this exploration, what I'm inviting you to is to start to allow the breath to occur as it is gifted to you. So just be aware of it and just notice that you can be aware of it without controlling it. And for many people, that's challenging. at first. So whatever your experience is absolutely okay. If at any point you find that uh, this is uncomfortable for you, you're welcome to open the eyes at any time. It should not become stressful for you. So just remember that you can regulate your experience, take good care of yourself. But here it's just about being aware and allowing. So the breath is just gifted to you. If you allow it, it just happens. You don't force it, just happens. You can trust in it. At the end of each inhalation, there'll be some pause, and then there'll be an exhalation. And at the end of each exhalation, there'll be a pause, and then there'll be an inhalation. And the duration of the pause and the duration of the inhalation and the duration of the exhalation, all of that will vary. There's no one right answer. Just allow it to happen and be very aware of it, just curious, mindful, noticing. Sometimes the breath can become subtle. And if that happens, that's okay. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay as well. I'm mentioning it just because if it does happen, then it's okay. Just relax and allow. Sometimes it can become so subtle that it's not even clear that breathing is happening at all. And if that happens, it's okay. And if it doesn't happen, that's also okay. There's not one right experience to be had. It's just about allowing what happens. Now, my intention with this practice is just to allow a taste, not to try and go deep into something and have an extended experience of silence, but just to give a taste or at least a hint, at least a direction of something. And so perhaps you've noticed that there's been a kind of quieting down, perhaps a reduction of the usual stimulation. And so in that, you might notice that there's a kind of stillness or a silence, a gap. And to whatever degree you are able to notice that, I just invite you to notice that this is actually without limitation. So if you just notice your sense of being, just that you exist, your existence, not as a thought, but as a direct experience, and explore in your direct experience to see if you can find the boundaries of it right now. Just try that out. Just see if you can find the boundaries of your being, the boundaries of your existence. Of course, to the mind, that's an absolutely insane proposition because it doesn't know how to make sense of that. But in direct experience, it's absolutely the simplest thing. You just use your attention to explore to see if there's any boundary to you. And it is likely to be quite clear that there is no boundary to you. There's no limitation. There's no boundary. There's no border of any kind to your fundamental existence, to your fundamental being, which is the most essential quality of yourself. Now, as I said, my aim here is just to offer a taste, not a tremendously deep experience, but just a taste. And depending on your comfort and familiarity and your conditioning, you may have a very clear recognition of what's being pointed to, or there may be some confusion, and that's okay. We'll repeat these kinds of explorations throughout this series, but here, to whatever degree you've had a glimpse of this boundless nature, I just want to point out that the true this is the truth of abundance. Okay, so just notice that this is what abundance really is. It's absolutely limitless, it's infinite, and very important, it's unharmable. Okay, so just notice that this direct experience of self, of being, of existence is indestructible. It is it's like you can't destroy air, you can't destroy space. This is even more subtle than that. It's absolutely indestructible. You try to cut it and it can't be cut. You try to uh, punch it, it cannot be assaulted. It's not only indestructible and in uh, vulnerable, it's also unassailable. Okay, so hopefully you can have some sense of that, some direct perception of that, and notice that this is really truly the real essence of abundance. This is the source and substance of true abundance. It's infinite, invulnerable, completely secure, limitless. And it's here at the root of you. It's the truth of you. It's who you are at the most basic level. When all other things fall away, when the ideas and the thoughts of who you are fall away, this is what remains, is this unassailable, limitless purity of absolute abundance. So this is the truth of abundance, and it's who you really are. And hopefully you've had a glimpse of this for yourself directly. Now, before we open the eyes, I want to invite you to another experiment that can help you to make really good use of the knowledge that you will gain today. So right now, notice that presumably you are hearing, and your mind might say that you're hearing my voice and that my voice is coming to you from outside of you. That's what the mind might say about it. But I invite you right now to notice the actual direct experience of it. So just notice what's actually happening in direct experience. Notice that there is hearing happening and that this hearing is inseparable from the sound. So the mind likes to separate things and say the sound is separate from the hearing. but it's actually impossible to separate the sound from the hearing. The sound and the hearing are happening as one occurrence now in, again, indirect experience. In the mind, we can divide things up all kinds of different ways, but if you just pay attention to what's actually happening in the direct experience, you might hopefully notice that there's sound and hearing happening as a happening now. And notice where this is happening. So if you ask the mind where it's happening, the mind will tell you a story about it. But if you just notice in direct experience before you think about it, where is it happening? Is the hearing happening apart from being, apart from existence, apart from this infinite spaciousness, apart from this infinite abundance? Is the hearing happening somewhere else, or is it happening here? Is that hearing happening at a distance, or is the hearing happening intimately right now here within you? And so I'm inviting you to catch a glimpse of this indirect experience and notice that it's all happening here and now in you as one with your very existence, which is infinite abundance. So this is just meant to be a glimpse, a taste of this indirect experience so that you can notice this very, very important truth, which is that what the mind likes to pretend is something apart from you is actually happening intimately in you and as you. So I have invited you to notice this with hearing. You can also notice this before opening the eyes. Notice that you can do this uh, with with touch as well. So you can feel the sensations, whatever those sensations are. Okay, I mean, they're just sensations, but the mind likes to say that they're sensations of something. So the mind might say that it's the sensation of the air on the skin, or the sensation of the clothing on the skin, or it might say it's the sensation of the body on the chair or whatever you're sitting on. Or if you're lying on something, it might say it's the sensation of the body on that thing that you're lying on. So that's what the mind says. But now notice in direct experience that the sensation, just like the sound, just like the hearing, that sensation or sensing or feeling is happening here now in this infinite space of being and abundance that you are. So it's not happening out there. That's just what the mind says. But in the direct experience, it's happening here now. It's happening, we could say, within. I mean, within and without become meaningless, really, but rather than the habit, which says that it's happening outside, that it's a sensation of something outside, it's possible to realize that there's just this present living experiencing of feeling that's happening as a living experience here now in this spaciousness of consciousness, in this spaciousness of being that you are, which is this infinite abundance. So hopefully you're able to have a taste or a glimpse of that. And, you know, if your conditioning is very strong and if your attachment to the mind is very strong, then that becomes difficult. I understand it's possible for everybody. It just sometimes requires repeated exploration for some people, but many people are able to recognize this straight away. Okay. And we could do this with any of the senses. We won't do it with, I won't guide it with all of them, but I will suggest uh, before I invite you to open the eyes, to notice that the same is true of seeing. So with your eyes still closed, notice that seeing is still happening. So seeing is happening now. It's just that the content is uh reduced, but the act of seeing, the experience of seeing is still occurring. You just or what it is that's being seen is um rather quiet, muted. Okay. And then in a moment, I'm going to invite you to slowly explore opening the eyes. And as you do, I just want you to be aware of what's actually happening. So the mind likes to say, well, I'm opening the eyes and therefore I'm starting to see all the things that are out there. But just pay attention to what's actually happening subjectively. And you might notice, you might not. Again, it depends on your conditioning, but it's certainly possible to notice. So I'm just inviting you to notice that what is happening as you slowly open the eyes is that this experience of seeing is just it's the same experience of seeing, and it's actually all still internal, so to speak, but the content is enlivened, and the mind says that content is outside. But just pay attention very carefully and you'll perhaps notice as you slowly now begin to open the eyes that that content is actually still merged with the seeing, which is one with you as pure being, pure consciousness, which is still here now, not at a distance, but intimately here now. So, as I say, this is just intended to be a glimpse or a taste. It's not meant to be the uh, world's deepest experience. But I would like, my intention is to provide a space and an opportunity for people to be able to have that glimpse because it's really the foundation. Without that, then what happens is our tendency is to uh, continue to perceive that I am a separate thing, separate object living in a universe of separate objects, and that my security depends upon obtaining external material things. And so that sets into motion a whole process of which feeds fundamental inner insecurity. And it can't be resolved that way, which is why, and I often make this point, I'll make it now, that there are billionaires, I'm sure not all, but there do exist billionaires who, despite the fact that they have more money than they could possibly ever actually need, still perceive that they don't have enough. So it's this is the deception of the mind, is that it says I'm lacking something externally, when all along it's just that there's a habit of believing in lack. And that's why I've pointed out several times, and I'm going to point out again, that this direct recognition of the foundation of true abundance as infinite being, which is who you are, is so uh, of such fundamental importance, both for obviously for inner wealth, but also for outer wealth, because your outer wealth does you no good if you cannot appreciate and enjoy it. And if you are seeking after outer wealth in order to try and fill a an endless pit of insecurity within yourself, it will never work. This is the big mistake that people make. So that's again why I started out with this um, directed experience, because I want you to be able to recognize what the true source of abundance is. Because when you connect with this, then you can start to uh, put things in the right order. Because as I've already pointed out, if you're trying to fill an inner bottomless pit of insecurity by seeking outer material things, then it will never ever possibly work because on they're completely different orders of experience. And so that won't, plus it's if it's a bottomless pit, you'll even if they were not different orders of experience, you couldn't succeed that way. So we have to recognize that first and foremost, that what we've been mistaking as a bottomless pit of insecurity is in fact an infinite source of true abundance. See, it was just the twisting of the mind that said that it was insecurity. But when we can recognize it for what it is, which is that this is infinite abundance and that it's my true inheritance because it's who I actually am, then we can start to live with things in the right sequence. Because when the normal way of living for most people, the conditioned way of living is like putting the cart before the horse. It doesn't work. But now when we recognize the true source of abundance, when we recognize the true nature of abundance, when we recognize that we already are that, then and just please understand, you probably don't yet fully trust in that. That's another thing. Okay, that comes with practice, repetition, and sincerity. But maybe, hopefully, you've had a glimpse of this. That's my intention with the guided practice, is just that you might have a glimpse of it. And as I said, not everybody will have had that glimpse consciously today. Many of you will, but some of you will not have. And if that's the case, don't despair. That's why I'm offering this as a multi-part series, because through the repetition, then something will click. So it will work for you. Have faith. We're all a little bit different, and sometimes we need it to be presented in a slightly different way, or we just need to um, have repeated exposure to the material before it clicks. So, but once you've had this glimpse, then what's possible is to start to repeat it so that you can, with the right understanding and the right intention and the right practice, you can start to strengthen that new understanding for yourself, which will uh, put your life in the right order, and then you will be in a good position to start to manifest the outer abundance, the outer wealth. Okay, so that's the foundation. Now, I do want to say that even without that foundation, it's possible to use the basic principles, many of which I'll be talking about today and over the course of other meetings in this series, in order to manifest at least temporary outer wealth or the appearance of outer wealth. But as I've already pointed out, and I'm going to point out again now, the big flaw with that is that if you if you approach it that way without first having clarity of what the truth of abundance is within, then no amount of outer wealth will suffice. And if you perceive that your good depends upon that, then you will create tremendous anxiety for yourself. And because the nature of experience is to ebb and flow, to rise and fall, to come and go, then it's inevitable that that outer expression will shift and change over time. And so then because of the tendency to make attachments to that, if you don't have a real recognition of the source of abundance within, then that attachment to the outer form, well, as I've already said, it will generate this tremendous anxiety. And so then you'll be fearful that, oh, I've lost my good, I don't have enough, things have turned against me, etc. And so that's why I'm really over and over and over repeating the importance of recognizing that the truth of abundance is within. Okay, so with all of that said, I am going to now give you some more practical things that you can do in order to begin to express and manifest that outwardly, because that's also very important to be able to express it outwardly. Just recognizing your truth of inner abundance is, in most cases, insufficient because, um, if you are fearful of not having your outer needs met, then it's very difficult to remain with your attention on the inner abundance. You'll tend to get pulled over and over and over into fear. And so that becomes a big problem. So it's very important not only to know your inner abundance, but also to be able to manifest that outwardly. So both should happen. Both both are important. And I want to be clear about that because I know that sometimes on in certain spiritual circles, not all, obviously, but in some, material abundance, material wealth is frowned upon and seen as problematic. But I don't believe at all that that's true. I just think that it's important to put things in the right order, to recognize what the true source of abundance is, but then also to manifest that outwardly, because we should have knowledge of ourselves through and through. It's not that I am exclusively the unmanifest pure consciousness. I am that, and I am the totality, which includes all of the appearance, all of the material, all of the form. So uh, I should have, and you should have complete self-mastery, which means that we should be able to express authentically in the manifest. And that means being able to express our authentic abundance in our own unique way. And so that's very important. And that's the main thing that in the remaining time for today that I want to emphasize is that it's very important to manifest your truthful expression of abundance in your unique, authentic way. And this is a place and a way that many people get tripped up because they're looking to some kind of external standard and thinking that that external standard is a way that they can measure their own success. What I mean by that is that people look and they say, well, that person over there has $1 million, and that they seem to be expressing abundance, and so therefore I should also have $1 million, and only when I have $1 million can I know that I am abundant. But the uh, problem with that, apart from putting the cart before the horse, is that it's very important to recognize that you are unique. And so your fundamental nature is abundance, but the way in which that abundance expresses authentically through you, for you, and as you is unique. And so you cannot look out there for any kind of standard to dictate to you what your expression of abundance should look like. So as I've said before, and I'll repeat it again now, it is possible to use the principles that I'll talk about. Probably not a lot of them today that this would apply to, but certainly in the coming weeks, in order to manifest outward expressions that might appear to be abundance. Like specifically, if you want to manifest a bunch of money, you can use certain principles to do that. But if it's not authentically you, then the problem with that is that it won't really work. Then you'll still be trying to fill that bottomless pit of insecurity within with outer manifest expressions that won't ever actually work. And so you don't actually solve the problem. You still feel that you lack, no matter how much you manifest on the outside. So you can use certain principles, like you can use the law of attention, which is that whatever you put your attention on, that's where the energy goes. You can use that understanding in order to manifest money specifically. Okay, you can do that if that's really what you want to do. Um, However, and I won't go into a lot of detail on that today, but I will in subsequent weeks. But I just want to be clear that as I've already said, but the problem with that is that even if you succeed in that, you put your attention consistently on, I have, I have $100 million. I have $100 million. I have $100 million. I have $100 million. You're visualizing that, all channels are clear so that millions of dollars flow to me. You do all that work, you release the limiting beliefs, you can do all of that, and you could manifest the $100 million. You might experience temporary euphoria from that. But if it's not actually the authentic, truthful expression of abundance that is unique to you, it won't be ultimately satisfying. And so you'll still be in the same place that you were before you started. So I don't recommend that you waste your time on that. What I do recommend, which is what I'm going to use the remaining time of this meeting for, is that you focus on uh, expressing that true abundance. And so I'm going to just briefly talk about what that means, and then guide and then talk you through a simple process that you can or practice that you can use in order to help yourself with that. So hopefully you've had this glimpse, this recognition of the truth of abundance within yourself. Okay, so that abundance is limitless, boundless, infinite. Hopefully you could agree that that is the nature of abundance, and that you can perceive that within yourself as your true nature, as being, as existence, as consciousness. And so from that, uh, it's that abundance can express in infinitely many ways. But there's one particular way. So we can see that it is expressing in many ways, but there's one particular way that is unique and true for you. And you can know what that is because it is meaningful, purposeful, and joyful for you. So, in other words, it means being yourself. Now, a lot of people have been trained to think that money is the only is the only they think that money and abundance, or money and wealth, are equivalents. And it's not actually true, because it's possible to be a millionaire and be impoverished, because the money is not the equivalent of abundance or wealth. It's one possible expression of abundance and wealth. But it's also possible to have to manifest money without it being an expression of true abundance and wealth. So that fixation that many people have on money ends up being problematic, because if you just think about what you have done for money, and whether what those things that you have done for money, when you're doing them for money, are those actually expressions of true abundance, right? So a true abundance should be experienced as freedom, joy, happiness. So you think about many of those things that you have done uh, for money are the expressions of that freedom, joy, and happiness. And obviously, many of them are not, which should demonstrate pretty clearly that chasing after money is not an intelligent way to try to express abundance. But it's the thing that most people are doing, because that's what most people have been taught, is that money is abundance and you should chase after money, think about money, focus on money. So again, you can use some of these principles that I'll be sharing in coming weeks in order to focus on money and manifest money. But if you do so, you will be shortchanging yourself. So I very strongly recommend that you focus on your true abundance, which is you. And you are you through and through. So I've guided you to have a direct experience, or at least hopefully, perhaps a glimpse of yourself as in your boundless nature, so that you can have that glimpse and realize that I am infinite, I am boundless, I am free, I am pure potential. And so that is you in one of your in one aspect of yourself, and you can experience your abundant nature expressed in that way, which is formless. But you are also the individual, individuated self expressing in this world. That's also true. You are also the you of experience. And so, and there's not a disconnect there. There's a through line from the formless into form. There's a complete through line there. But you are that totality. You're not just one extreme, one end of the pole. You're the totality. You're all of it. And so it's important that you can know, experience, and express that abundance at all levels, including at the manifest level, including at your individuated self-expression, which is what I'm getting to when I say that you have a unique expression of abundance. And so you are also here to know and express that. Now, uh, as I say, most people, they at that level, they just focus on the money, and it's ultimately dissatisfying. So have the courage to do something different. Have the courage, even though, and this applies even if you're thinking, how am I gonna pay my rent next month? Right? Even if you're thinking, how am I gonna pay for food tomorrow? Just see that you, if even if that's the case, you've been playing this game of chasing after money and it hasn't been working. So have courage to start to see things more clearly and to start by truly valuing yourself. You are valuable. And I'm not saying this to puff up your ego or anything like that. It's really that's not at all the point, but it's rather it should be very humbling to recognize that uh, that as a unique expression, I am a child of the divine. I have been created as an expression of that of the divine, of of a supreme intelligence. And so my life is important. My life is a gift. My life is to be cherished. My life is to be honored. And that means that I should honor being the unique self that I am, not trying to be somebody else, which is what the world usually teaches us, right? Just be somebody else. How to be successful? Well, be like others. But in that's not to honor yourself. You have been made as a unique self with unique gifts, with unique challenges, with a unique voice, with unique contributions, with unique desires, with unique joy. And that's what you are meant to be. So that's the truthful expression of your real abundance, because that's your real inheritance of that abundance is you, right? There's no other you. You're the only one. That's your real abundance. That's something that you cannot get that anywhere else. It's priceless. It's an absolute impossibility to get it anywhere else. You could get, all the other things that we chase after in life. They can be gotten, but this is something that is unique to you, and you need to honor that. And so when you have the courage to do that, then you'll start to see that, and it sometimes it happens very quickly and sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but I promise you, as you do it consistently, you will start to see miracles opening up, and that expression of outer abundance will start to flow like the tap has been opened. Because again, the big mistake that we have been making is we chase after the money thinking the money is the abundance, and it's just absolutely not true. You are the real abundance. So you have to be true to yourself, honor yourself. So here's the practical thing that you can do, and then we'll wrap up for today. Is I want you to think about this every day. I want you to think about what is my unique joy? What is my unique uh, self-expression? What is my unique gift? And I'm inviting you to think about this. When I say think, I don't necessarily mean to analyze, although there's a place for that, but I'm really suggesting more of an intuitive contemplation. To just ask yourself these questions and then just to open to just receiving whatever comes to you intuitively, just to start to see what is that unique expression that's already been happening in your life when you weren't trying so hard. So I can't tell you what that is for you. I can, and I don't want to try and limit you by and limit your imagination by suggesting too many things to you. But it really, I just want to say it can be anything. Okay, so it could be. It's really just about what really is is truthful, joyful for you. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes we have devalued it. So it might be that initially you don't see it because you think that's not valuable at all. You think it really has no value. And this is why, um, the big uh, punchline, as it were, is that we've always been sitting on that gold mine all along, but we didn't recognize it because we were devaluing it. So it might be that, and it's not always the case. Sometimes right away, people will recognize that because they've just been waiting for the invitation. They might say, "Oh, really? Have been just waiting for somebody to allow me, give me permission to accept and love myself and value myself and appreciate my unique gifts in this world." And so it might be readily apparent to you. But for others of us, you have to just persist with this day after day after day and just keep inviting yourself gently. What are my gifts? What is my unique joy? What is my real value? And it should be joyful. This is so important. It should be joyful. It has to be joyful. It's not forced. It's not what you should do. It's not who you should be. It's who you authentically are. It's not what others say is valuable. It's what is actually truthfully valuable in your heart. And again, you might have talked yourself out of it. You might have been conditioned to devalue it, even to the point of being virtually blind to it. But I promise you, as you continue to invite yourself into this exploration day after day, it will start to dawn on you. And it should feel very good and freeing and wonderful to you. Okay. Because again, it's who you already are. Now, it may require some cultivation in order to achieve its fullest expression. I'm not saying that that's not true, right? Like, so for some people, the truth of their truth is to uh, play piano, okay, and that playing of piano might require some cultivation to reach its fullest expression. I'm not saying the person who where piano is their truthful self-expression and true expression of abundance, that they just come out of the womb just playing as a virtuoso. It's, of course, they might have to take lessons like the rest of us. They might have to practice, but and along the way we might encounter some resistance and some struggle and some challenges and self-doubt and all these things that might happen. But what I'm saying is that at the heart of it, there's a joy and there's a knowing and there's a recognition and there's an acceptance at the heart of it. And that might be covered up with a lot of conditioning, or it might not be. But if it is covered up with a lot of conditioning, then you just have to keep questioning and looking, and then it will be revealed to you. Okay, so this is the very, very important step in the living an expression of your true abundance at all levels so that you can recognize and manifest true wealth, both inwardly and outwardly. I want to be clear, just as I'm wrapping up here, that that your outer wealth is also guaranteed as you tap into and live your true inner wealth. So please don't make the mistake and think, but if I just trust in my inner wealth, then I'll end up broke and homeless and destitute. It can't be. When you follow the steps sincerely that I'll be outlining through the other meetings in this series, I promise you that cannot ever happen. Will you necessarily be a millionaire? Only if you need to be, right? You might need to be for your truthful self-expression of abundance. It's quite possible. Maybe you need to be a millionaire. Maybe you need to be a billionaire, but most of us don't. So I can promise you for sure that you will have on the outside everything that you need when you're true to who you really are on the inside. So that's the promise. So I'll wrap it up there. I would just say a few words for people who watch us on YouTube. Let's see. So if you are interested in joining these meetings live, you're welcome to do that. You can get the information for joining these live if you go to my website, joeylott.com, and sign up for my newsletter. Some people don't get the automated emails that should be sent when they sign up. I think most people do, as evidenced by the fact that there are many people here. But if you sign up and you don't get the automated response, then you can just email me directly and ask, and I will send that information to you. But I prefer that people sign up and get the automated information because otherwise it's too many emails for me to field. Also, let's see, I'm still offering free introductory coaching calls, which can be life-changing. So if you're interested in that, you can get more information and sign up at joeylott.com/intro, INTRO, and I'll provide the link to all of these things in the description on YouTube. And the last thing is that for those who are interested in a systematic, practical way of establishing a daily, simple, sustainable daily routine that will support you in living your best life, then you may be interested in my Manifesting Truth program. And that is a paid program. It's very reasonably priced. You can find more about that at joeylott.com/manifesting-truth. And again, there'll be a link in the description below. So that's it for the talk today. Blessings to you all. And for those who are here live, I'll stay on for the group coaching.